I've been painting Death Guard now for a couple of months, and I haven't based a single one. So let's base a lot of minis all at once. We can use a couple of materials here. I'm going to try out that Das air drying clay. You can use Milliput. Could use green stuff. Although we're going to use that acrylic resin later. This texture roller is what's going to do all the work. Make sure you give it a roll though so it's still working. And these. I got these from Etsy. They are 3D printed cookie cutters. At 40mm, 32mm and 25mm to match each of the bases. Okay, at this stage we're going to need a few things. A rolling pin, the clay, put some greaseproof paper down. And this isn't required, but highly recommended, Jordan Sorcery.
Hello.
Never used this stuff before. I wanted to give it a try, and I like it. I think it's good. I would maybe change some things I did. But we'll go over those. It's quite wet, so I dipped this in water so it wouldn't stick. That was the wrong choice. Now, I didn't achieve this, but the main goal here is to make this as even and flat as possible. So you can't mess this up. Unless you forget to put the texture roller on the clay. Oops. That's fine. The more you work this clay, the easier it is to work with. It's quite sticky when it first comes out the packet. And just try and get it as even as possible. Then you want to get your texture roller of choice. I'm using Cobble. Try and apply even pressure as you're rolling this. Now you'll actually see there's some parts of the clay that don't actually have decent texture on them. That's because I didn't roll it out even enough. But I can just pick out the bits with enough definition that'll work. Essentially that's the video there. But you should keep watching. I've got another tip for you. And then we're going to roll it out again. The more you work this clay, the easier it is to work with. So don't give up. And they will get better and better. Any leftovers, use another texture roller. Or a new bits box. The texture roller can leave the surfaces kind of rough, so wet your finger and just smooth the top of it. And then weigh it down with the exact weight of a Green Shield Care and Protect wood and laminate surface wipe packet. Okay, this is the following day. I've let the clay dry overnight, and I'm going to glue it down with some super glue. I'm actually going to force it down so it flattens these bases a little. Because I didn't roll them flat, they have warped very slightly. Again, get it right on the first day, and you won't have to do this. But if you do, you can use glue to fix it. Some sanding paper, a bluntish knife, make sure you have a mask. Just a blunt knife because I didn't want to cut myself. Is These edges are going to be pretty rough, so we're going to use the sanding paper to smooth that out, just to finish it off a bit nicer. This will create a lot of dust, which will actually be useful later, unlike trigonometry has been since school. I tried this with my Dremel, and it works fine. But it was quite aggressive, and I ended up going back to the knife. But use whatever's most comfortable for you. You're gonna need to sand it anyway. If you have any unevenness like this, that's fine, we can fix that. We'll get some of this leftover dust. I'm just going to put it into those gaps. And get some super glue. This is a bit too thick for this application. I would use thin super glue for this. This works. I do wish I spent a bit more time doing this on all of the bases. Here's a tip I got directly from Carpentry YouTube. Lay down some masking tape. And get some super glue. Run it along the top of the tape. Then flip the masking tape so the sticky part is on top. You got double-sided tape. Why didn't you just buy double-sided tape? Listen. Great stuff about this tape is we can actually pull it up and move it around. That's why I'm not using double-sided tape. So if you want to clear off your hobby area, you can. Okay, this first layer of paint is literally just painting. It's not actually dry brushing. We're going to use this mid-tone as an overbrush. Use circular motions, but don't apply as much pressure as your parents do in your career choices. I'm using a nice dark wash. You can see that. It's neat from the bottle, you can see that too. I'm gonna get some lighter grey. Now don't put too much on your brush, so then you don't have to remove as much. Give this a very light airbrush. Don't give it an airbrush. You can give it an airbrush if you want. Put a dry brush. Like skulls. I like skulls. We do not want to detract attention away from our miniature. So you're going to notice here that these are very basic paint jobs. They look good, but we don't want too much detail. This is the best paint in the world, Barbarian Skin. I love it. Combination with some skeleton Horde. And then just an overbrush with Barbarian Skin. And we're done. No more detail. We are done. Okay, so in my bits box, I've got a bunch of these bricks that I've made previously. Just tiny little scale model bricks. You can buy them, or you can make some. That acrylic resin from earlier. 2 parts resin, 1 part water. Mix it up. And put them in these little silicone brick molds. I'm pretty sure these are from Green Stuff World as well. Then we're going to squeeze them out of the mold like the government squeezes the economy. Then just prime and paint with a big old brush. It's kind of good if this is patchy. That fakes detail without putting too much into it, which isn't going to draw the eye. Light dry brush on top. I would suggest you do both sides of the brushes. The bricks. What did I say? Brushes. Time to overdose on serotonin. This was done in a whole session. And these little diorama leaves are a bit big for what I want to use them for. So I'm going to take any large leaves out. I'm going to try and grind this down so it's much smaller, although you can buy finer stuff. Right, this is AK Interactive's Puddles. You can use other stuff. You could even use clear glue. What this is going to do is going to make it look like there's water running between some of the cracks in the pavement. And also, it's going to stick some of this moss texture in between the cracks. Less is more here, so don't cover the entire base. Just pick a few areas. Okay, let's get our traitor... how did I get in there? Let's stick down some miniatures. Ever noticed Americans say miniatures? We say miniatures. Wow, we're done. It's really starting to come together now, which is a great boost when you're hobbying. Now, I don't have a fear of commitment, but I like to dry fit everything before I actually start gluing it down. I'm also making sure that I'm not putting 2 bricks on every single miniature and a skull and a tuft. Not good. I don't know why I made those noises. I'm cutting off your brick supply, McCloskey. As you start going through this process, you're going to start thinking that you haven't painted some things enough. But we're going to do something that's really going to bring it all together, yet at the same time not distract the eye from the main event. Now these tufts are from Gamer Grass. They're really small. They're much smaller than some of the other ones you can buy. And I'm just putting these into some of the cracks in the pavement. So it looks like there is green stuff growing up as the Death Guard move through this cobblestone town. What you're looking at here are called soft pastels. It's essentially street chalk. You can get it from art supply stores. You can for a pound, £2 from your hobby store or art supply store. You can get all these colours. Why am I telling you this? You can actually shave this off, and this is actually pigment powder. And because this is literally just pigment powder, we can mix it like paint. We can get any colour we want. Yep, looks perfect. Okay, so we want to get dust along the bottom of the minis. As you can see, what I'm doing is I'm using the bigger brush to apply it, then a smaller brush to wipe it away. I'm gonna keep applying and wiping away until I've got the kind of build-up I want. Because we're doing this, we don't need to fix it, it will stay there. Applying it, wiping it back, until you get the kind of build-up you're looking for. And then suddenly it all starts coming together with all these different finishes, giving the illusion of more detail. And now we get to rim the miniatures. You can use any colour you want, but if you don't use black, you are objectively wrong. Literally use whatever colour you want. Any colour. You could use pink. Don't use pink. You could. Go on. Use pink right now. Use pink. Right. Get the pink. Hi, thanks for watching the video. I think if I did this again, I would make sure that I flatten the clay a little better so it doesn't warp quite as much when it's drying. I'd also like to spend a bit more time when filling those gaps and make sure I get everything, because they do feel a little noticeable on the final product, which is fine. I'm also going to varnish the rims so they don't get chipped, but it would be nice to find a clay that's maybe darker in color, black or a brown or something like that. Otherwise, I'm really happy with them. Now, I've been painting Death Guard for a couple of months now. I almost have 1,000 points ready to go. But I'm a little bored of green. Let's paint something red.
A series of data trials, voice print, retinas, scent, gene scan, then spiritual evaluation, and other murkier forms of assessment. The last of the machines trilled pamphlets. Arms and scanners withdrew into the walls.